Good morning. It's Tuesday, November 25th. Let's look outside this morning in America thanks to EarthCam. We're saying hello to Las Vegas, Nevada, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Pulaski, New York, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Down in the bayou. I can already taste a little bit of, good food. I love that stuff. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in our headquarters here in Chicago. I'm Nick Smith in for Marky Martin. We have a lot of news to get to, so let's get started. Overnight, Russia and Ukraine firing barrages of drones and missiles at one another. It comes as U.S. Army officials meet their Russian counterparts today for more peace talks. New details and analysis ahead as leaders say we're entering a critical moment over the war. There are criminal cases dismissed, at least for now. But what's next in the showdown between President Trump and his former FBI director and the New York State Attorney General? Also, why James Comey says he knows the president isn't done with his revenge tour. Today is said to be the busiest travel day this Thanksgiving holiday. We're expected to shatter records this year. And guess what? We have information on when you can expect freezing cold temperatures and maybe even snow to possibly slow down your trip. But first, breaking overnight, Russia and Ukraine trading deadly strikes as the U.S. tries to negotiate an end to their war. A wave of Russian attacks in Kyiv, including on a residential building, has killed at least 7 people. Several more have been injured. Also overnight, a Ukrainian strike in Russia leaves at least 2 dead there. This comes as NewsNation learns a U.S. team met with Russian leaders to discuss the plan to end the war in Eastern Europe. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey is at the White House with the very latest. Tom, good morning. What do we know?
Hey, Nick, good morning. According to a source familiar with these talks, Army Secretary Dan Driscoll traveled overseas to the United Arab Emirates to meet face-to-face with a team of Russian delegates amid these ongoing negotiations over these peace talks to end the war in Europe. Driscoll was a part of those talks over the weekend, meeting with a team from Ukraine. But the source telling NewsNation that Ukraine knew about that follow-up meeting with Russia and the United States. The Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying negotiators made progress on the U.S. peace proposal, but President Trump has put a deadline in place for this upcoming Thursday to reach some sort of a deal to end the war in Europe. So time very much ticking this morning, Nick.
Yeah, but Tom, that war in Eastern Europe isn't the only major issue on the White House's plate today. The Trump administration is vowing to appeal a ruling on those 2 big cases we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The legal fights for Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, and former FBI Director James Comey, those legal fights might not be over because Attorney General Pam Bondi is saying she plans to fight back against their cases being dismissed. Take a listen.
We'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
Those comments came after the judge said the lead prosecutor from the federal government, Lindsay Halligan, was unlawfully appointed after the interim U.S. attorney before her resigned amid pressure to charge Comey. Comey faced charges for allegedly lying in front of Congress about the FBI's handling of the investigation into alleged Russian collusion with the Trump campaign during the 2016 presidential election. James, meanwhile, faced mortgage fraud allegations. Both of them pleaded not guilty. James's attorney issued a statement writing, quote, "This case was not about justice or the law. It was about targeting Attorney General James for what she stood for and who she challenged." Comey posted online about how he believes President Trump may continue to go after him using the courts and to possibly charge him moving forward. But some big questions going around about that, Nick, because that statute of limitations was days away from expiring before that initial indictment came down against Comey, and that case was later dismissed. Nick?
Tom, thank you so much. Tom Dempsey live at the White House. NewsNation contributor Chris Cillizza, host of So What, joins me now. Chris, good morning. The judge throwing out the cases against Comey and James, concluding that Trump's U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, was not lawfully appointed. Halligan was installed in the job at the president's urging by Attorney General Pam Bondi in September. This was just days before Comey was indicted. Chris, many are asking this morning, how was she allowed to file charges to begin with? How did this happen? And is this egg on the face of the administration?
I mean, I think it is, Nick. It seems to me that this is the result of a process that starts at the top, right? I mean, Donald Trump has made no bones about the fact that he wants to use the Department of Justice to persecute his political enemies. And that if you don't want to do that and you work for the Department of Justice or you're a U.S. attorney, he will replace you with someone who does. And that's exactly what happened here. There's a guy named Eric Siebert, who was the Eastern District of Virginia U.S. attorney. Donald Trump, he did not feel as though there should be charges brought against Comey and James, in that there wasn't sufficient evidence to do so. Trump said, okay, you're out. We'll put someone in, Lindsay Halligan, who will do this. She then immediately did so. The problem is when you have the President of the United States, who's a busy guy, dictating not only who should be in these jobs, but what they should do in these jobs, you don't dot all your I's and cross all your T's. And this is the kind of thing that happens. It looks a little bit slapdash. I think it looks that way because it is. And this, I will remind people, this is a technicality, right? This isn't on the merits of the mortgage allegations against Letitia James. This is on the merits of the allegations against James Comey. It's this person should not have been in this job, that they were not in the appointed in the proper way. That's the kind of thing that you would think an administration would have figured out.
And Chris, I want you to go deeper into that for our viewers who may not have understood why you even brought that up, because what you're saying is that she shouldn't have even been there to file these charges because the merits of the case have not been argued, correct?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, the issue here is it's a little bit sort of technical in terms of the window where Donald Trump could have appointed someone like Lindsay Halligan to this role had passed, and that the job of appointing someone to the role that she is currently in should have, by law, fallen to the federal court system. It did not. Donald Trump did so. Now, they're going to argue he has the power to do this on appeal, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is, the judge in this case dismissed it not because of the actual merits of whether or not, for example, Letitia James falsely signed a mortgage application. It never even got to that point. This was about the person bringing the suits, the judge said, was not qualified, was not legally put in that job to do so. I will note, Nick, and this is important, both Comey and James asked that the cases be dismissed with prejudice, meaning that the government could not bring further charges on these matters against them. The judge said, we're going to dismiss these cases, but we're going to do it without prejudice, meaning in theory, they could be brought again. The one thing I will say, though, is if they lose on appeal, if the administration loses on appeal, they're going to have to do something about Lindsay Halligan if they want to bring the charges again. They're going to have to put somebody else in that job, because if they have her in the job and it's already been legally determined she shouldn't be in the job, you can't do that, right? It'll just be dismissed again.
And then, Chris, I have less than a minute, but I do want you to touch on that, because part of what Letitia James and James Comey had argued, help me here, was the fact that she had gotten, particularly with with Comey, that she had gotten this grand jury to sign off on maybe pieces that they had not heard. And Comey had also argued that she had maybe come into information that she should not have gotten because it was privileged information, right? So these are things that Comey would argue should this case actually go before a judge.
100%. I mean, I think it's really important to note that that was a huge story last week, Nick, which was there were allegations that the full grand jury who signed off on the indictments of Jim Comey never saw the full indictment, that the foreman of the grand jury did, but the full grand jury didn't. Now, I am not a lawyer, but my friends who are lawyers are saying that, that's just like straight up malpractice and almost certainly would have led the case to be dismissed. But again, that is not why this case was dismissed. In fact, that hadn't even been considered yet. This case was dismissed because of the person who brought it, the judge decided, was not in that job in a way that allowed her to be in a position to bring these cases. So we haven't even gotten to kind of, much less the merits of the case, how the case was sort of originally created. We haven't even gotten to that point. That's why I think from the start, legal experts always were very skeptical that Comey or James was going to be convicted on things. I don't know that they even ever make it to an actual court.
And this is only the beginning. NewsNation contributor and host of So What, Chris Cillizza. Chris, thank you again.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good holiday.
You too, sir. Today, the federal government will release its first inflation report since the federal government shutdown. NewsNation's Brooke Schaefer is tracking this one for us. Brooke, good morning. We're also going to get information about how much Americans maybe spent before the government shut down, too, also, right?
Yeah, Nick, good morning to you. It is one of the busiest economic mornings we have had in a while, with a wave of delayed government data finally dropping this morning. At about 8:30 Eastern time, we'll get the September retail sales and producer price index numbers. Both of those reports pushed back by the government shutdown. Economists expect Americans to boost their spending at retailers by about 0.4%. That is good news, but still a slowdown from August, even stronger gain of 0.6%. The Producer Price Index, or PPI, a key inflation gauge that the Fed also watches very closely, will help shape expectations ahead of its December meeting, including whether a rate cut is even on the table. Then at 10 a.m. Eastern, we will get the Consumer Confidence Index, a critical read on how Americans are feeling as we head into the holidays. The latest University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey shows that confidence is now at a 3-year low, with Americans frustrated about the persistence of high prices and weakening incomes. And that frustration and downturn in confidence is only adding to the uncertainty this week when traders are already bracing for some big swings. Nick?
Brooke, quick question for you, though, before I let you go. With stocks swinging so far back and forth, how much could this delayed information move markets now?
A lot, Nick. It's a holiday week, so there's lighter trading, and analysts warn that there may be more volatility. Tomorrow, we're also going to throw some housing data into the mix. 2 important housing checks are due, both expected to tell the same story. We've got high home prices, high mortgage rates, and a market still stuck in a slowdown. Recent data reveals more than half of U.S. homes lost value in the last year, especially in the South and West, adding another layer of pressure on homeowners. So this will be a very critical 48 hours for investors. All of this feedback before the markets closed for Thanksgiving, and these reports, as we've said, really could help shape expectations for a possible rate cut when the Fed meets next month. Nick?
And all eyes will be watching. Brooke, thank you so much. Joining me now is Mark Lopresti, Chief Market Strategist and CEO of Market Rebellion. Mark, good morning.
Morning, sir.
We just heard Brooke break down a whole bunch of numbers, and I know people at home, heads are exploding like, what does all this mean? Today is one of the most data-heavy days we've probably done for the year. Which indicator do you think carries the most market-moving potential? Because that's what consumers and everyday Americans want to know.
Well, you know, it's not what my favorite number is or yours. It's what Chairman Powell's favorite number, or J-Pow, as I like to refer to him, Nick. And that is, hands down, the PPI, the Producer Price Index, one of his 2 favorite gauges of inflation, one of the 2 things that the chairman and the Fed governors, people often think it's just a one-man band. It's not. We have a whole band of Fed governors that vote on monetary policy. We're going to be looking very carefully to see the street, as your previous journalist just covered, expecting 0 to 0.1, essentially flat, and easing on a year-over-year basis around 2.4%. If we get that print, and I expect that we will, because remember, this is the September data, so it's not going to have the same impact of the government shutdown that we expect the October data will show, then we're going to get what we need to keep that 25 basis point cut on the radar next week.
Mark, that's the question I have there, because I think so many people are still confused about where we are exactly. I've heard some analysts describe it as driving in a fog, where we're moving forward, but we really can't see ahead of us, because all this data, while the government still hasn't released October CPI or the October jobs report, both canceled because the BLS couldn't collect data during the shutdown. How does that complicate the Fed's December rate decision even further?
I mean, I got to tell you, this is a narrative that drives me crazy, okay? Because everybody on Wall Street, professional traders, hedge funds, even individual traders, they don't look at the BLS data that's compiled with surveys that are sent in the mail that are dated, antiquated. It's almost December. We're talking about September data. Professional traders look at real-time data that they get minute by minute, tick by tick. We're not relying on the BLS. That's why I don't think Unless there's a significant difference in expectation, because headlines move markets, it's not going to matter that much, Nick. Smart money knows where the numbers are at. They're not waiting for the BLS to be released.
Well, private sector data can fill in some gaps, but how much can the Fed really rely on patchwork indicators when inflation has been so unpredictable, which is why the Fed chair has been hesitant to really do a huge interest rate cut.
I think that's, to be candid, I think it's a bit of an excuse. I think that the data is available for the world's largest money managers to be able to successfully navigate using private data. And in fact, the Fed has, as much in some of the commentary and different Fed governors during the government shutdown, has admitted that they've been looking to many of those reliable private data sources. And you're right, it's a patchwork. There's no doubt. We don't have that one singular, elegant, unified BLS official print. And it's going to take time for the government. Governments move like aircraft carriers, not speedboats, to move to that patchwork of private data. But don't be fooled, my friend. The data is there, and it's accurate if you know how to read it.
If you know how to read it. Mark Lepresti, thank you so much. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
To you as well, sir.
Overnight, severe weather rolled through parts of the South. On Monday, that system produced a suspected tornado. It hit an area just outside of Houston, damaging at least 100 homes. This system of bad weather could be a problem for anyone traveling the next few days. And if that wasn't enough, there's snow and cold temperatures on the way as well. And the guy bringing all that news to us is my friend Max Paris in the Weather Center. Max, good morning.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, this is all part of the same powerful weather system that's tearing across the country. We start in the deep south, where severe weather will resume later this afternoon and this evening. A level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk, with the possibility of more tornadoes in the forecast for parts of Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia. Atlanta could get this strong to severe weather by around 6, 7 this evening. We'll have the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and heavy rain as well. So if you're hitting the roads, make sure if you get an alert, you're going to pull off. Make sure you're playing it safe out there. So we have strong storms this morning entering in Mississippi. Those will get stronger as we enter into the afternoon and the evening with the heating of the day. Widespread rain in the mid-south. That's moving into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, so it will be a soggy drive later this evening from areas like D.C. to New York up towards Boston, with colder, drier weather on the way tomorrow on the backside of that storm system, that cold front cutting by, with just a lingering isolated shower potential in the mid-Atlantic and an isolated storm threat across parts of the southeast. On the cold side of that weather system, got to talk about all the snow on the way. 10 million Americans under winter storm alerts, mainly in the northern plains and downstream of the Great Lakes. That's where we're expecting the highest totals. And a little bit farther west, that storm is already unfolding, where you have those warnings in place, those watches downstream of the Great Lakes will get upgraded later today. But look at the UP. We could get up to 3 feet of snow west of Marquette, east of Duluth there, and still a widespread 48 inches. Not out of the question. Chicago, that big hub, not really impacted, maybe a dusting, certainly not as significant as the Twin Cities today, where you'll definitely experience those slowdowns. Severe weather across the southeast and some rain in the mid-Atlantic will also likely impact travel today. Now, tomorrow looks a little bit quieter. A lot of this moves out, Nick, and unfortunately, tomorrow seems to be less traveled. Is that what I'm hearing? Today's actually going to be the busiest day. Yeah. Little flip-flop of what we're used to.
But at least with things calming down tomorrow, maybe people can get to their destinations safely.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping, but could be a bigger storm system this weekend, too. So we got these crisscrossing storm systems that seem to always impact us Thanksgiving week. This year, no different.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah.
We're also closely following the rest of your holiday travel. AAA expects the hectic holiday travel season to heat up in a major way. With 52,000 flights taking off nationwide over the next week, the Federal Aviation Administration projects some 360,000 flights in the next week, and the TSA expects to screen 18 million passengers during that time. AAA expects this to be the busiest Thanksgiving travel season in 15 years, with nearly 82 million Americans getting out of town, including at least 73 million people hitting the road. The so-called Slender Man stabber will face an extradition hearing today in Illinois, days after she escaped from a Wisconsin group home. New body cam video shows the moment officers found Morgan Geyser and another person sleeping outside. Police say she gave a fake name before finally providing her real one. Geyser was 12 years old when she and a friend lured, then stabbed a classmate to please the fictional Slender Man character. Their victim barely survived. The Pentagon says it's reviewing serious allegations of misconduct against Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. This after he appeared in this video alongside other Democratic lawmakers. In the video, they told service members they can refuse illegal orders. Kelly is a retired NASA astronaut and former naval officer. The War Department says it's considering recalling Kelly to active duty so he can face a court-martial. Kelly posted on X he won't be silenced and that he's always upheld his oath to the Constitution. And these birds are living the high life right now. And later today, the two lucky turkeys will receive a full presidential pardon at the White House. Footage shared by the White House Monday shows the birds named Gobble and Waddle strolling through Washington's Willard International Continental Hotel. President Trump will spare the birds from becoming Thanksgiving dinner at 2 p.m. 1 Central. And you can stream that ceremony live on YouTube. The standoff with Venezuela is entering a new phase. Putting the Venezuelan president's face on a wanted poster could open up more options for the U.S. to deal with the regime. Plus, is the wait finally over for farmers in desperate need of aid? The Trump administration says relief is on the way. How soon it could come, and the farmers' pleas to the government.